It's a good Monday morning. Welcome to the start of a brand new week right here on Joy News, your home of fearless, independent, and credible journalism. My name is Benjamin Akakbo.
And mine is Sweetie Abochi. Welcome to the 4th day of March. March is marching. March is running.
Fast,
it's going. And we're here to do our thing. We're still in Ghana month, and if you see us, we're trying our best to fly the colors of Ghana, though a lot of these prints are from outside of Ghana, but we're still trying to do our best. Before we let you know of what we have lined up for you today, we did promise our viewers that every weekday we would give them a proverb
in our local language.
Yes. So you go first.
Fine. Oba Devi kan akplaga makanya gaon, which means, do you know what that means?
I understand a bit of it.
Okay.
But you go ahead.
So it means that a child
figurative meaning.
The figurative meaning is a child who can, who has big muscles, doesn't have to, say things that elderly people say or so, something like that. Akola ne throw masono on customer or something in the line of
I said no why
yeah. Into tobo improwa 7 year.
Okay.
Yes.
Mine is a very simple one. Tikro nkwejina. Tikro nkwejina. In other words, iti bako kro nkwejina. Ejina is more like an assembly, a meeting. If you alone are talking, it's not a meeting. It's not a dialogue. It's a monologue.
Okay.
In English, it could be rendered as 2 heads are better than 1.
I would have said no man is an island.
That too.
Along the same lines.
That too.
Yeah. So that's how we welcome you to the start of the show this morning. Benjamin, do you realize that somehow we're marching again today, huh?
I guess effortlessly we do it. But let's get to the details.
Yeah. We'll bring you the news in a bit, and then we'll get into the news review. Today, senior lecturer at UCC School of Business, Dr. Sairam Kawo, is our guest for the news review.
All right, from there we get into sports. Muftar Nabila will be helping us with that segment. And then we get into the big stories.
Yes, today on the show, we'll delve into the running mate saga. Now, with both the NPP and the NDC having flag bearers from the northern region, some Ghanaians are saying that their running mates should be chosen from an Akan region. We already know that John Mahama has chosen Professor Jenano Pukwajiman as his running mate. But what's the reality on the ground? We'll hear from political scientist Dr. Kwame Asasante and Ben Epson, who is a pollster. We'll also hear from some residents in Kumasi on this issue.
Well, you do remember that Ben Epson had that interaction with me and said that from around June, thereabout, he would come out with his polls. I'm eagerly waiting to hear from him. But also coming up, the Ministry of Education says its checks across senior high schools in Ghana have shown that there's an adequate stock of food. Different from what we've been hearing. Heads of these schools say they are satisfied with what they have, but it's not the reality on the ground. We'll be probing those issues in response to a Joy News documentary on the state of free SHS. We'll be hearing from the ministry on the show as we juxtapose what they are saying with the school gardening system that's now defunct and how it could make things better.
You know what's interesting, Benjamin, is the fact that they're responding to a yet-to-be-aired documentary. But later on later on in the show, we'll also tell you about Include Hair event being organized by Lady Sam. Now, Lady Sam is an MC, marketing and media consultant, customer service and public speaking trainer, vision board specialist, and also a life coach. She's the founder of She May Solutions. So Lady Sam is very passionate about helping people pursue their goals, particularly women like me. So we'll tell you more about that later in the show, and then we open the phone lines, Benjamin's favorite part, where we get to interact with you on everything that we've discussed so far on the show.
All right, so that's what you can expect from us today. That's what we're looking at. We're going to be getting into the mix and doing the do. So stay with us, and we'll be coming your way with more.
Yes. Thank you. Stick with us from 6 a.m. From now to 10 a.m. We are your hosts, Sweetie Abochi and
Benjamin Akakbo. We'll be right back.
This is the AM News on the AM Show. Let's begin now, starting with there's an easy calm in the Tonto-Krom community of the Ashanti region following the death of 3 in a clash between the youth of the area and security men protecting a mining concession. A resident was allegedly shot dead during a confrontation with the private security operatives on Saturday. This infuriated the youth, who launched a reprisal attack and lynched 2 of the alleged attackers.
3 persons have been confirmed dead following a clash between residents of Tonto-Krom in the Amanseh South District and some heavily built men allegedly protecting a mining concession. A resident was allegedly shot dead during a confrontation with the private security operatives Saturday afternoon. This infuriated the youth, who launched a reprisal attack and lynched 2 of the alleged attackers. Emmanuel Apia is an eyewitness.
I'm a Payawana, that is Akan Kuman and Netifu Bakuruma.
Asanko Mine brought in military men to chase out our men when they went to their side. They unfortunately gave warning shots, which got to 2 people who are no more. The truth of the matter is that Asanko Mine unleashed some macho men to kill 2 people in this community. A day before the incident, the chiefs and residents of Tonto-Krom staged a protest to demand the establishment of a community mining scheme in the area. They chase us with policemen and security guards. They are always intimidating us with the police and the military. We are pleading with government to establish a community mining scheme for us. We won't let Asanko mines take over our community. The indigents say mining is the main source of income for most of them, hence the need for the government to expedite action to place them under community mining. They are unhappy months after applying to be placed under the scheme. The government is yet to approve the community mining at Tonto-Krom. Youth Emrantie empanimfo nyina ka bo mu se ene aban community mining na wode baaye no esese Ghana forma ene enjoy your community mining no so enti ye de nkrata asem egu akwam etu anamon a ye pre community mining eno enama asankofo esore ye so ade akye a nom de asojafo abegu ye so abrubi aprepre nipa ni bebre da biara da sana ekoso adan ena wo ka adwuma ama wo company na me so me ya Ghana ni ba. We sought the establishment of a community mining scheme, but since then, we have been intimidated throughout. Why should we be killed for seeking a community mining scheme in our own community? This is an election year, so Dr. Baumia must act. If they don't establish the scheme by June, we won't participate in the election. Ya young people for ma and you has sir community mining no a free march e kwasi May June na say yen community mining no ya register dia and ya hu say so ya to up. The District Security Council will be meeting with managers of Asanko Gold and leaders in the Tonto-Krom community for a possible solution to the current impasse. For Joy News, my name is Nana Boache Dankwayadom, Tonto-Krom.
About 250 students of Ejiso Senior High Technical School have been displaced following a rainstorm that ripped off a dormitory block of the school. The Krapa MA Junior High School and Ejiso Experimental Schools also had their roofs ripped off. Ohemeng Tewia, who visited the schools, says authorities have sought temporary shelter in a warehouse for the affected students.
It is Sunday, the first Sunday of the month. the day set aside by school authorities of Ejoso Senior High Technical School to allow parents and guardians to visit their wards. It comes less than 24 hours that rainstorm devastated the school's oldest dormitory block, ripping off the roof. This means students are not only stranded, but the academic work is disrupted. Municipal Chief Executive for Ejoso, Samuel Odro-Frimpong, who led officials to visit the school, says efforts are being made to resolve the issue of accommodation for students of Ejoso Senior High Technical School.
The sheets fell on the high tension wires. The ECG people were also here to help remove the wires and to ensure that power is restored to the school. So in the evening, we helped the boys to sleep in one of their classrooms. So this morning, together with the presiding member, honorable members, assembly members here, the PTA chairman, I'd already informed my member of parliament, Dr. John Pontiekuma, who tasked that this morning I come with assembly engineers to come and do the proper assessment so that we can get the estimate for bringing back the roofing. But because the boys slept in the classroom yesterday, that was a temporary measure. We needed to get a place for them this morning. Lucky enough for us, PBC, they have some buildings around. So we contacted the regional manager, and he has given us one of the rooms. At the moment, we are doing the cleanup exercise there to make sure that we put the place in shape to transfer all the 150 boys to the place so they can have a place to put their head.
Saturday's heavy rainfall did not only affect Ejoso Senior High Technical School, but also affected Ejoso Experimental School and that of Krapa MA Basic School. Municipal Chief Executive Samuel Odro-Frimpong tells Joy News the Municipal Assembly is collaborating with the Member of Parliament for the area to find lasting solution to the issue.
This is the oldest building so far as the school is concerned. It's been here for almost 80 years. So no wonder it was affected by the rains yesterday. We will rely on the report from the engineers whether we need to pull down the whole building or just maintain the existing one. So this morning we met the entire student population. We have given them all the needed assurance.
There are calls for the school to be closed down temporarily, but Municipal Education Director Kwabena Owusu says school authorities are collaborating with the Municipal Assembly to find an amicable solution to the problem.
They are about to vacate for the semester, but you see, unfortunately this happened. I believe if God should have heard our prayer, we should have prayed that this thing should have happened during vacation, but it never happened so. They are about to have their examinations by the end of this semester. Some of them are going to prepare for WASI. They have to be trained, and because of these issues, it's going to affect them a great deal. You see, they have a lot of syllables to go through. I don't think that they have completed all their syllables for the semester. So we believe that we have to, sit down with the head of the institution, discuss about how best we have to vacate very early for them to go to their various homes. Whereas we also look at the structure and try to put them right.
From Ejoso, for Joy News, Ohime Interior reporting.
Moving on, former Oti Regional Minister Joshua Makubu says he was a bit surprised about his removal from office. He indicated no concerns were raised about him during his tenure in office for redress. He found it strange when the president told him he could not be part of his government after the ministerial reshuffle on the 14th of February. Joshua Makubu has been interacting with correspondent Peter Senu 2 weeks after his removal from office.
The day we did the inauguration of the various assembly, the Akuya. Then the following day, Tuesday, 13th, I had a performance contract signing meeting with all MMDs in the OT region. So it was a call from the Deputy Chief of Staff, my own brother and friend, Carlos Bombrazi, that His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, would like to have my audience a face-to-face audience and not a phone conversation that day if I was around Accra. So I was in OT region, but I could still make it to Accra, but I should be getting to Accra around 7, 8. So it's okay. So 9 is okay. Yeah. So I drove to Accra and I was at the Jubilee House around 9 o'clock. Then the president had a lot of things to do. Eventually, somewhere around 10, 10:30, I got the opportunity of meeting him, and he communicated his decision to do a reshuffle and made me know that unfortunately I was not going to be part of his government. That was it. That's how I got the news.
So how did you take it?
Oh, right from the one of my appointment, even before my appointment, we know that the right or the decision to appoint and to remove lies in the hands of the president. And we also made to understand that in politics anything can happen at any point in time. So like soldiers in the battlefield, you either kill or you are killed. If you are in the battlefield and then you become a target and then you are shot, those parents, friends should know that you are in the battlefield and there were two options. It's either you continue to serve your nation or maybe...
Well, but did this come as a surprise to you?
Yeah, I would say I was a bit surprised because for my 3 years in office, there has never been any issue where I was called to come and provide some explanation regarding my work and my relationship with traditional authorities and other things. At least if there were some times your attention were drawn to certain things that maybe were not going well, you could feel that, okay, if these things were not going well and I'm not able to rectify them, it might be difficult for you to continue, but that didn't come to my attention. So I was surprised, but on the other hand, I was not too surprised because right from the one, other people want to get into the office that I was in, and they didn't guess. So they will never go to rest. There were some people who had certain expectations of me that maybe by my conscience or availability of resources, I might not be able to toe that line. So all these things, you don't sit in a political, even the President of the Republic of Ghana, if His Excellency John Dramani Mahama gets the opportunity to declare him not a president today. So that's the game we found ourselves in. So I wouldn't say it was entirely, I was surprised or whatsoever, because I've been preconditioned to know that, look, at any point in time, as an appointee of the government, you are the beck and call of your appointer, and any decision could be taken, either favorable or unfavorable.
Now, maternal mental health disorders are conditions that can result in a mother committing suicide or even murdering her baby. Research also shows that maternal mental health disorders can cause preterm deliveries as well as stunting and nervous system development delays in children. As scary as the condition is, a majority of healthcare workers in Ghana do not have any knowledge about maternal mental health disorders. This according to the World Health Organization's maternal mental health situation analysis in Ghana. Now, stakeholders have been discussing the seriousness of this disorder at a research dissemination meeting at Bolgatanga in the Upper East region, from where correspondent Albert Sore reports.
Maternal mental health disorders include depression, anxiety, and substance use disorder. Symptoms generally include extreme sadness, difficulty for a mother to bond with her baby, suicidal thoughts, and difficulty concentrating. These may occur during pregnancy, childbirth, or after delivery. In Ghana, over the years, maternal mental health disorders have scarcely been discussed until now. The World Health Organization has been doing a situation analysis on maternal mental health in Ghana. The research has revealed a rather worrying situation as far as the prevalence of the disorders in Ghana is concerned. Lead consultant Dr. Promise Sefoga shared some of the findings at the Northern Zone dissemination meeting held in Bolgatanga.
So these were studies done from across Ghana. In Boko, we found a prevalence of 50.4% of postpartum depression. The other one we did in Greater Accra, at the district level, we found about 9%. At the regional hospital, those who are delivering in the regional hospital, about 31%. Those who are delivering in the tertiary hospital, where more complicated cases are referred to, about 41%. And that gave a national average of about 27%. Yes, sometimes the women say, no, don't bring the baby to me. I haven't delivered. This is not my baby. Some will just withdraw. Some to the extent of attempting to harm the baby, because in their mind something is telling them that I need to harm this baby myself, otherwise something else comes to harm the baby. These are all manifestations of severe forms of the disorder. And so if somebody has delivered and showing these things, they say, no, don't bring the baby to me, don't take the baby away. This may be the early warning signs. We shouldn't stigmatize them that, hey, something is wrong with them, she's mad. But it is a medical problem as a result of the pregnancy and delivery. Bring them and let's deal with them before it becomes severe or it becomes more complicated.
He said the research also revealed that a majority of healthcare workers in Ghana do not know about maternal mental health disorders.
So this work interviewed healthcare workers, healthcare managers, policymakers, pregnant women, postpartum mothers, as well as women who have suffered some of this depression or maternal mental health disorder. And we found that majority of the healthcare workers say they don't have enough knowledge on the condition. Majority of them say they don't know about the tools that we can use to screen. Screening for a disease means the patient doesn't have the symptoms yet, but you want to check to see if there are any early warning signs so that we can detect it early and then refer or manage it to prevent the complications. Because maternal mental health disorders lead to complications that affect the mother and the child. They lead to preterm birth, they lead to other problems for the mother, they lead to problems for the child. Some of these children tend to have brain and nervous system development delays. Some research done in the northern region has even found that children of mothers who were affected tend to have stunted growth. They are about 3 times likely to have stunted growth. They have neurocognitive and developmental delays. At the same time, these conditions affect the woman's bonding with the children, relation with the family. And we've been told that 20% of death of women after delivery is as a result of suicide. And a human being will commit suicide when they have severe depression.
So, what policies are being adopted to help address the problem of maternal mental health disorders in Ghana? Dr. Martin Boama is the Technical Officer for Maternal and Child Health at the Country Office of the World Health Organization.
We are looking at integrating the interventions right through all the levels of the healthcare, right from the community through to the tertiary facilities. So it is something that we are discussing and will support the Ministry of Health and Ghana Health Service to look at this. We'll be focusing on issues of capacity building for the healthcare workers. Currently, we don't have any policy that speaks directly to maternal mental health issues. So people or organizations like the Parliament, the Ministry of Health, and Ghana Health Service, civil society all have to come together and put in the right policy that will address these maternal mental issues comprehensively.
For Joy News, Albert Sori, Bolgatanga.
Still on the issues of health, management of the University of Health and Allied Sciences is asking for support to complete a multi-purpose laboratory complex on its main campus in Sokode in the whole municipality of the Volta region. Vice-Chancellor Professor Lydia Aziato, who extended the appeal, says it has become imperative for the labs to be used in training the students, hence the urgent need for its completion. She was speaking at a white coat ceremony for students of the schools of medicine and pharmacy.
Laboratory complex is designed to have the capacity to undertake health and allied sciences experiments and research. The complex would also have an ICT laboratory, basement, offices for staff, a cafeteria, a library, a museum for educational purposes, among others. Speaking at the White Coat ceremony, the Vice Chancellor of UHAS, Professor Lydia Ziato, underscored the urgent need for the completion of the complex.
So I wish that you go over your oath, you let it sink into your spirit, man, your bone and your flesh, and you live the oath. Before we leave here, our parents were here, our stakeholders were here, friends of UHAS. Our roads still pending. If you know anybody who matter in government, advocates for the university, you came in, you saw our road. Our laboratory complex just behind this auditorium is the largest in the country, maybe in the sub-region. Unfortunately, it didn't come finished. We are looking for companies, individuals. You can set up one lab for us, finish it, and name it after yourself or your organization. We need support to complete our lab complex.
President of the Accra College of Medicine, Professor Ifwa Hesse, implored the students to ensure integrity in their field of work and eschew corruption.
Try and make every problem or see every problem as a solution waiting to be found. So it becomes a challenge for you. And when you do that, you find that you become innovative, thinking, and entrepreneurial. Every problem is a challenge and a solution waiting to be found. Integrity in the health profession is key. Always doing the right thing whether people are watching you or not. Remembering that though man may not see you, God does, and he ultimately will be the judge and the rewarder of everybody. Then love your country. Don't be in a hurry to abandon it and go and develop another country. We are the only ones who can develop our own country. You are the future. Dream the dreams and follow God's lead to make this country what you want it to be.
139 students from the schools of medicine and pharmacy participated in the White Coat ceremony to mark their transition from the study of preclinical to clinical health sciences. Fred Kwame Asari, Joy News, Sokode.
And that's how we wrap up for AM News on the AM show. Up next is the news review, and joining us is senior lecturer at the University of Cape Coast School of Business, Dr. Seiram Kawo. Please stay with us.
Welcome back on the AM show. It's still Ghana month. Yeah, I'm watching. Yeah, that's Bibri say. And now no pay when you see our ha. Just say yeah, back to come on news review. You know, Kratana yeah back and kind of someone we need here. They be you will be yeah then the come on. So we're going to continue from there, and to usher us into the news review, we shall of course talk about Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. They help us bring you this segment every weekday, and they're still offering you free prostate screening if you're a man, free fertility screening if you're a woman. Go check on yourself, do maintenance just as you would do for your car or other machine, because guess what, if you don't, someday you could just find out that things have gone askew and it may have gone too far on. Here's where you can locate them. Here in Accra, they are at Spintex opposite the Shell signboard. Kumasi, Kronomabwe here behind the Angel Educational Complex. There's Takrady Anaji State, Tema Community 22, Techiman Hanswe and Siamansama. Their call lines are 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 3, 2, 1. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. But just the start of the news review, I'd like to seize the opportunity of thanking Sewa Abankwa of Seraban Clothing for fitting me out and for the many things she's done for me for the month of March. You know, it's Ghana month and she's put together a few things, classy stuff. So Sewa Abankwa, located at Kawukudi Club 10 area. Thank you so much for the outfits. Now, my guest this morning for the news review, he is a senior lecturer at the UCC, University of Cape Coast School of Business. Dr. Seram Kawo is our guest. Doc, good morning, and thank you for staying with us for Ghana month in your fugu or your batakari.
Thank you very much, my brother. Good morning.
Right. So let's get into
Ghana month, we need to protect and showcase Ghana.
Well, here we are showcasing it as well as we can. Usually I do this, I allow for about 2 minutes for my guest to reflect on something topical that he or she would like to talk about. It could still be from the SONA, it could be from happenings over the weekend, so many developments. I don't know which one you would like to talk about, but over to you before we get into the papers.
Okay, I think I want to talk about the LGBTQ bill that was passed in Parliament and the issues that came out with it over time. Yes, we want to protect the proper human rights and sexuality of the country. We want to uphold our cultural values. And so Parliament, in its own wisdom, decided to pass the bill. Once we pass the bill in Parliament, the onus is now on the presidency to assent to the bill to make it a law. And we have heard countries that are threatening to impose sanctions on the country, and the arguments that have been raised by civil society organizations and all those ones. We only want to put it on record that this is a country of law, and the Constitution guarantees freedom of association, but where the freedom of association would impugn on the sanctity of the society, that needs to be protected. And so we need our diplomats and diplomatic options, negotiators, to go deep into this and negotiate with the countries that will be imposing sanctions on us, so that at the end of the day, the country will not suffer any economic hardship. As we speak, we depend mostly on donor countries, most of which support the LGBTQ community. There are some that are doing businesses in Ghana. And for that matter, we need to be much objective and not be sentimental when we are dealing with this particular law. Yes, people have the association to do whatever they want to do at the comfort of their homes, but they should not bring it to us. They should not bring it to our children. They should not indoctrinate our children. The child that I brought up, I should be allowed to train that particular child. So if a group of persons decide that they are not going to give birth naturally, and they would want to do their own things, well, it is their own cup of tea, but then we need to make sure that we protect our society. We should also not just be looking at the aspect of the law that has been passed. We have several laws that have been passed in Ghana, and most of them are sleeping. The enforcement are not working very well. And so we also need to look at that aspect where this promotion of LGBTQ and all those things can take place in schools, can take place in movies, can take place in the books and materials that our children read. And that is where parenthood comes in, and parents must be more conscious to what they teach their children, what their children read, what their children watch, so that we can protect that sexuality and the proper human values that we value in our country.
Well, thank you for your thoughts. There's been a lot of debate on these matters and what the way forward ought to be. Some reasoning on both sides. Some have said, for example, that what do you do in your bedroom shouldn't be criminalized. But of course, it is what you put out there and the promotion of same. Human rights issues have come up juxtaposed with culture and sensibilities of certain people. The argument you've raised, some have said that don't corrupt my children, but others have also said, but we also have rights, just as you, and who comes to see what you're doing in your bedroom in this or that manner. So arguments on both sides, but now the bill has gone before His Excellency the President. Are you expecting him to sign it? How quickly? Just a quick thought on that and then we can move.
All right. So once the bill has gone to the presidency, the Constitution mandates the president to sign the bill. And so I don't expect anything more than the president signing the bill to uphold the Constitution and the oath of office he has taken. And so we hope within a period of 2 weeks, the president, and that's my expectation, that after the other consultations and all the rest, the president will assent to the bill. And you know, this is something that the entire country or majority of the population, the civil society organizations, some are for. And so we are also in an election year. The failure of the president to sign the bill might be something that will go to the negative of the political party he belongs to. So his hands are tight, and he is not the one who would feel it alone, but the entire country, especially his failure to sign the bill, would negatively affect the fortunes of the political party he belongs to.
All right, let's get into the newspapers now. The Daily Graphic as well. Start. Excellent grades not enough. Acquire skills. President advises youth. Election 2024, EC releases calendar, and they've been, some have said that they've been late. They've tarried in some of these developments, but here they are. They have released the calendar. Experts issue 2024 weather forecast. National District Awards. Kokma, best performing assembly. On the back page, Oli Kotoko secure win, and then Kotoko pipping Gold Stars to win by 1 goal to nothing, and Olympics actually beating Hearts of Lions by 2 goals to nothing. And Hearts won again, Accra Hearts of Oak, I mean. So if you look at the league log now, after 19 matches played, Kotoko is in second with 19 points, but Samatex has played 18 and they are still on top with 35 points. If they win, the gap will be 6 points for those sports aficionados. Ediana is third with 30 points, and Twatterman also fourth with 30 points, and then Brekum Chelsea also with 30 points. Hearts of Oak in 7th position with 27 points, and Hearts of Lions in the relegation zone 16th with 18 points. But let's get into the story. So the Electoral Commission will receive nominations of candidates for this year's presidential and parliamentary elections from September the 9th to the 13th in a major countdown to the climax of the political season. Now, this will be followed by the balloting for positions on the presidential ballot paper on September 23, 2024, and the parliamentary balloting on September 24, 2024. Furthermore, the Electoral Commission expects to declare the results of the 2024 presidential polls within 3 days of voting, of the voting exercise, if everything goes according to plan. And goes according to plan can be subjective. We saw what happened in the district assembly elections, largely successful. You have to give it to the EC. But there were places where ballot papers, the necessary requirements for voting were not there till around 1, 2 p.m. when you had set around that time for your time of closing. Some had to go deep into the night, some had to be postponed, and all of that. So a number of factors. Now we know the EC has agreed to use indelible ink, and that voting is on December the 7th. So I guess other issues to look at. But to conclude, in its program of activities for the 2024 general election obtained exclusively by the Daily Graphic, the EC will conduct a voters registration exercise from May 7 to May 27, 2024, and proceed with a nationwide exercise to replace missing voter ID cards from May the 30th, 2024. The registration exercise will, however, be preceded by 56 days of public education on the exercise from April 1 to May 26, 2024. Let me just quickly add. So you have the EC, that is case number 1. Case number 2, or story number 2. Excellent grades not enough, acquire skills. And President Akufo-Addo has urged Ghanaian youth, especially students, to bear in mind that formal education is not just about securing excellent academic grades. He said students must additionally acquire skills, values, and knowledge that would empower them to make a positive impact on the world. He encouraged them to be curious, compassionate, and resilient because the country looked up to them not only as scholars, but also as ambassadors of the nation's potential in engendering progress, prosperity, and development. Over to you, Sairam. Any thoughts?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think let me take the excellent grade not enough aspect since I'm in the educational sector.
Right.
I couldn't have agreed with the president more. That excellence grades are not enough to guarantee you the job that you are looking for. Excellent grade does not guarantee you the skills that you are looking for. What you need and what we always tell our students is that you need to be more proactive. You need to think outside the box. You need to ensure that the things that are being taught, you really understand them and you can apply it to the job market. We may have some students that are very sharp, that are very brilliant, and so whatever that is being taught at that point in time can be imbibed. But the classroom is a limited area. Not everything can be taught. When assignments and case studies are given, the students are supposed to go out and make sure that they apply it critically and they are able to read in between the lines, pay attention to details so that they'll be able to apply these things on the job market. So skills training are part of the game, attending seminars and workshops that they have, making sure that they have good connection with friends and relatives all around the country, so that at the end of the day, by the time that they finish school, they may have acquired some of these skills. Practical attachments are very key. So we would call upon the business community that as we are training the students, the practical aspect is also very key. So when the students come to them and they want to do attachment with them, we plead that they accept these students so that they will be able to gain the practical aspect of the job. Not only for the students, even faculty needs the practical attachment to bridge the gap between industry and academia. There are occasions where we invite industry players into our lecture rooms to tell the students what is happening in the business world. We encourage these partnerships to continue so that our students will not only be focused on examination, but will try as much as possible to be focused on the skills that they learn so that they will be able to apply. There is no kind of laziness. When you are a young man listening to me, you will be able to get through easily. It is through determination, hard work, moving out of your comfort zone, making yourself uncomfortable, and then making sure that you go through the route, you go through the meal. That is when you can be more successful. Now, when it comes to the EC aspect, it's good that the calendar is out now. We have seen the timelines. All the political parties are much aware that the elections will be held on December 7th, though there were proposals that the date should be changed, that these proposals we know are late in the year for us to do that. So coming out with the calendar is very good for us. The calendar is a plan of action that is going to guide us. You have mentioned some of the issues that we need to avert our minds to. The election materials, the ballot papers reaching areas where they are supposed to get to, and then getting there late. Issues about securities, that will all go in to affect the release of the result from December 7th up to December 10th, the EC tries to put up. What we need to do is that there is the need for proper planning, engagement of the stakeholders, So we engage all political parties, civil society organizations. Good somewhere in the plan, there is going to be a massive kind of education. This is a national election, and it is not new to us, and it is something that we all live up to. The campaign period, we hope that it will be civil, there will be decorum, so that we will not plunge our country into any kind of mayhem. So, though it is coming a little bit late, we applaud the EC for bringing this particular timetable. The time for the voter, the registration that will be done should be taken serious, where the exhibition of the voters register and all kinds of errors and all those things will come in, because it's going to help the political parties also plan in terms of manning the police station, their polling agents, the training they will have to give them. All of these things have to be targeted. And so we hope that though it's coming at this time, it is going to help all political parties make the needed decisions that they want to make. IPAC is very important. So once we have all the parties there, they should have frequent meetings. And once issues come and they discuss it, the EC have shown that they are listening. That is why they have brought the indelible mark ink back. And so that posture should be carried out so that we will see them to be neutral when they are exhibiting or performing their duties.
Executing their work.
I do not expect political parties to be defending the EC. They should all look at the ways and put the country first in what we do.
Right. I'll just add a little bit on the educational angle. I agree totally with Mr. President. Excellent grades are not enough. I scored excellent grades undergrad. It has continued. But the point is, regardless of that, what I've noticed and what I always assumed to be the case, you can make that first class, be in the top 1%, 2%, which is where I found myself. Beyond that, if you're not able to show something, get other skills, do something else, you'll not go anywhere. And I always use my work that I do as a broadcast journalist. I had not been to what is now Unimac or anything, but it depends on your skill sets and what you're able to do. So if you restrict yourself to have excellent grades, it could be your end, actually, in a very competitive world. But experts issue 2024 weather forecast. Scientists and meteorological experts from Gulf of Guinea countries have released the March to June 2024 seasonal weather forecast, which indicates a higher probability of wetter conditions across most parts of the sub-region. It also predicted late start and early ending of the rains along the southern areas of the Gulf of Guinea. Notably, areas such as eastern Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana, Togo, Benin, and western Nigeria are expected to experience late to normal starting of the rainy season this year. So be on the lookout for that. Don't get caught pants down. But just to conclude quickly on the international front, Nigeria orders Binance cryptocurrency firm to pay $10 billion. It's interesting how they moved from boom to bust. Debbie confirms plan to run for president. Chad's interim president, Mahamat Idris Debi, said on Saturday he was planning to run in this year's long-awaited presidential race. I don't know what it is with African leaders and always wanting to be in power or advance in power when you look at them and what they are doing. I want to ask you. Page 9, Trump moves closer to Republican nomination, but Nikki Haley is holding her ground. And there's Israel demands names of hostages still alive. And that is part of mediation efforts. Let me get into the Daily Guide and do a few stories, get your response. NDC uses dumps Voltarians. That's according to Kofi Akpalu, LPG. You remember him. He says NDC only uses and dumps Voltarians. That's according to Kofi Akpalu. And Mansu Tontokrom clash leaves 3 dead. I'll do that story. So a violent clash between residents of Mansu Tontokrom and private security personnel deployed to protect the concession of Asanko Gold Mines Limited has left 3 individuals dead, sparking outrage and deepening tensions in that area. The violent altercation, which unfolded on Saturday according to reports, took a deadly turn when security personnel resorted to firing gunshots, resulting in the death of a resident caught in the crossfire. Now, in a retaliatory act, enraged locals then took justice into their own hands, leading to the lynching of 2 members of the private security team, with another individual left severely injured. We brought you bits of that in the news earlier today with Sweetie Abochi. Any quick reactions to this? Kofi Akpalu and then the Mansu Toto Krom clash.
The clash is something that is worrying. We need to. What was the clash about?
Asanko Gold has its own concession. It is protecting it. There have been incidents in the past where people have got onto the concession and done things they shouldn't, illegal mining among others. But in seeking to protect their concession, some of these people got into an altercation with some members of the community, and they took, the law into their own hands, shot. Now 3 people dead, and in a retaliatory act, they were also attacked. 2 members attacked by the other side, members of the area, 2 dead, 2 dead on their end, and 1 severely injured. So that's the story.
Yeah, my brother, this whole thing fits into the larger picture of Galamsey that we've been speaking about.
Right.
The destruction of our water bodies. Yesterday, there was a documentary from Joy on how the water bodies and the forest reserves are being destroyed.
Right.
There is a work that has been done that by 2027, there would be a global water crisis. So if there is going to be a global water crisis and the environment that we have, we destroy our environment with our own selfish interests and taking the law into our own hands, then there is a national security issue here.
Right.
The reason why a lot of the youth are now into Galamsey is simply because they don't have the skills, the jobs are not available, and where they are available, only few who belong to some political parties would be able to get those jobs. And so we need to go back and look at the national picture on how we can actually protect our environment. If you look at the documentary that I saw, it is heartbroken to see our forests when we borrow money to plant trees. Monies are given to us to plant trees. Then we go back and destroy these same trees. There is a saying that when the last tree dies, the last man dies. And so there is the need for the country, the need for our leaders to always put our country first in all that they do. If they don't do that, we are going to be in trouble. The security agency should move in quickly and make sure that those who perpetrate these heinous crimes have to be brought to book. On the issue of NDC using the Votarians and dumping them, this is a political season, and I won't go into issues where because a particular place is a stronghold of a political party, we would have to tag the people as being used and dumped.
Right.
What we need to look at is what are the developmental projects that are going on in this region in terms of the road network, educational facilities, and all those things that are needed. Just like any other region that we have in Ghana, we need development in the areas.
Right.
We need education and all the various social amenities that we have.
Okay.
And so using and dumping might be a strong word to use for the people, and that will disrespect the integrity of the individuals living in the region of Volta region.
Let's wrap with these quick stories very, very quickly. The new finder, Muslims show the way, present 14-point demands to flag bearers. That story is on page 8. And the National Muslim Conference of Ghana, led by National Chief Imam Sheikh Dr. Noor Sharabutu, has presented a 14-point Muslim manifesto to the leadership of the opposition NDC and the New Patriotic Party. Now, the conference outlined some of the proposals in their manifesto, which includes a request for the construction of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics and technical and vocational education and training schools in all Zango communities in the 16 administrative regions of the country. They also talk about the 200 projects in Zangos by the NPP. Now, and the promise of saying, the Inquisitor, Kudi no day, empty kitty for Amin. I'm talking about Finance Minister Dr. Amin Adam. And it says 17 commencement warrants signed days before he took office. In other words, they've tied his hands. So those are the major stories there. The final one, Today newspaper, government's promise to pay Gold Coast customers. Nasika no wahe? That's the question posed here. You can reflect on one or a maximum two of them, and then we can go.
Okay. The 14-point demand for political parties,
right,
where the chief, is it the chief imam's office?
Yes.
That is leading this particular one. Just give us the point that the Zongo communities are very important. It also buttresses the views that a lot more people have on the Zongo development plan, and sometimes a minister that will be in charge of Zongo development has been a failure. If they had done what they have promised, especially the NPP, during their political campaign, that the Zongo communities will be well equipped with modern schools and other social amenities. If they had done that, I'm not sure the chief imam's office will come up with this. Nevertheless, it's a good point that they have made. They have made their demand. The political parties will have to look at it and factor this into their manifesto. In terms of the money not being available for the current finance minister, his hands are tied, yes. Why? The budget was already read, past negotiations have been entered into with the IMF.
Right.
And so we do not expect him to do anything much more than making sure that he follows the budget and those things that have been agreed on. For the Gold Coast security issue, where would the government get the money to pay them? A lot of people have lost their livelihood. Some have passed on during that particular period. The financial sector cleanup needs to be more done. We call on the Bank of Ghana, the Ghana Education Service, the Commission for Civic Education, National Commission for Civic Education. Financial education is very key.
Okay, Sairam, we'll have to cap it off here
because of that. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Sairam Kawo. He is a senior lecturer at the UCC School of Business. Dr. Sairam Kawo has been our guest. Right before we get into sports, a lot of action over the weekend. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic helping us bring you this segment. They're offering prostate screening for free if you're a man, fertility screening for you if you're a woman. Reach out to them at their branches here in Accra, Spintex, opposite the Shell signboard, Kumasi, Kronoma here behind the Angel Educational Complex. There's Takrade Anaji State, Tema Community 22, Techiman Hansa, and Esiama in Zima. Their call lines 0244 867068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. Muftau Nabila Abdullah is up next with sports.
Running mate conversation that has come up. Do you think that a running mate from the Ashanti region can make a point for any party?
Yes, looking at the dynamics this year and historically what has transpired over the years, I think that having an Ashanti, or better still opening up to an Akan as a running mate, will yield to the benefit of any candidates that tries to choose a running mate from here. Because, funny enough, the two main political parties now have flag bearers from the north. So, and generally Ghana's political landscape has always played with, the geographics and the tribal issues. So we always want to have that collective Ghanaian society being represented in governance, right? So looking at former President John Mahama and Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, all coming from the north, then clearly it has to, the running mate then comes to the southern parts. Now, if you look at the domination of Akans in Ghana, then it becomes something that they all want to have a look at. And we've all heard some of the names cropping up. And generally, most of the names coming up are Akans, or we can also say that they are Ashanti. This region will benefit the person. And
looking at the numbers as well, do you think that a running mate from the Ashanti region, and just as I said, is going to add up to the victory of any political party, i.e. NPP and the NDC?
Well, I believe looking at the historical context, historically the Ashanti region has been the stronghold of the NPP. Anytime the NPP wins elections, the Ashanti region contributes massively. As you said, in the 2020 elections, the NPP put 1,700 and something votes, and then the NDC put 650, in excess of 1 million votes. In the 2012 elections, the NPP had 1,060,000 votes. The NDC had 500,000 votes. So politically, everybody would sit down and then look at, and then the difference in numbers in the 2020 election was a little over 500,000, meaning that if the NDC gets even half of the numbers in Ashanti region, they can pull their political weight. And looking at Ashanti region, the region wields a strong political power. Looking at the diverse nature of the terrain, so you can see people voting on different reasons. We have different demographics. Some will vote for you because you align with their views. Some will vote for you because you belong to their region. Yeah, a lot of dynamics come into play. So anyone that comes or anyone that picks a running mate from the Ashanti region is definitely going to add to the numbers. Looking at the fact that we have two of the major political parties having their flag bearers from the north, I think an Ashanti region or a southern running mate is going to do the magic for the person.
All right, thank you so much. And so some interesting points from these two gentlemen we have interacted with. Having flag bearers from the north for both parties, the NPP and the NDC, they believe that if a running mate from the Ashanti region or from the southern sector is definitely going to add up to the victory of any political party. But then, do you think that is definitely the case?
All right, so I think basically the issue with running mates and on regional basis has to do with how well the two parties are able to balance their regional, how do I call it, scale. Now, taking into consideration the Ashanti region, they have had a lot of political, let me say, influence over the years. If you throw back to the 1954 election of the NLM and the CPP, you can see how dominant the Ashanti region was. But then we should also take a look at the journey of the running mate so far. The NDC has been one of the parties that has been in power democratically for a number of times. Now, when you look at the choice of running mates, the dominating region has been the central region. From the 1992 election up to the 2020 election, where John Dramani Mahama picked Jay Nana as running mate. So it's now up to the two parties to now look at their dynamics. Even the NPP during Kufuor's time did not pick a candidate from the Ashanti. Same as Akufo-Addo did not also pick a candidate from the Ashanti. He picked from the north. Now the base here is that the two flag bearers are coming from the north. And what does it have to do, or how does it paint a picture of the whole election year and our democratic journey? It means that a party that will recognize the regional balance of how they are coming in as a party, the stance of their flag bearers will mean a lot. Now, picking the data from the recent election, Ashanti region has dominated or has rise in numbers in terms of voter turnout. It will be very ideal that they pick a running mate from this part of the region to represent any of the parties. But then the election 2024 is not going to be basically based on who comes from what region or not. Because if you are speaking from history, regional balance has always been the case. But then if any of the parties has been smart enough to look at their numbers, how many votes have we gotten from the Ashanti region so far? What is our support? Because the diverse nature of the region should tell you that every year the support for the two parties changes. And this year is not going to be different. You can say that the NPP has a route from the Ashanti region, but it will surprise you that coming into or going to the election, that the changes will be different, that you will not see that reflecting in the results. So, yeah, it will be very nice that they pick a candidate from the Ashanti region, but if you look at the data or comparatively, it is not a major factor to determine who becomes the next president of Ghana come December 7, 2024.
So I'm sure you would also have an interesting point of view when it comes to this whole running mate conversation. What is your own understanding about it? Do you believe that Ashanti region definitely would have to produce a running mate for any of the parties?
Definitely, Ashanti region will have to produce, especially for the NPP, because when you look at compare the last election 2020 to what we are seeing this year. The last election, there was no major opposition from apart from the NDC in the Ashanti region. Currently, we have Alan Tremantin also running. We cannot put away the Alan Tremantin factor that even though he's left the NPP automatically, there are members of the NPP who are even seen on TV, who are even MPs who are still campaigning for Alan Tremantin. So NPP cannot. I mean what I'm saying. They cannot look anywhere else for running mates apart from the Ashanti region.
So some views there, Nana Boache Yadom, there sharing or getting the thoughts of some of those people in Kumasi in the Ashanti region, sharing their thoughts on what they expect from these elections by way of the running mate situation. But let's come now in-house. What is in a running mate? The NDC has already given a clear signal. They know where they're going. They are retaining Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman. It's now left to the NPP to decide who the running mate will be for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. Interestingly, for the first time, you have a straitjacket situation where there are two candidates, the flag bearers of the two major political parties, are both of northern extraction. Now, how they will choose their running mates will also affect electoral outcomes. To help us discuss that, dilate on the issues, we have political scientist Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante. He joins us virtually, and on phone we have Ben Efson, a pollster. I call him Uncle. Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning, Ben.
Good morning.
And good morning to my senior, Ben, too. Yeah.
All right. Uncle Efson, how have you been?
Oh, fine. And you?
Nyamenadom. His Grace has found us. Yesterday was my birthday, so I'm still basking in the glory, and God has been gracious to us. But let's get into the critical matters. So far, you've seen what has happened on the political terrain. Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman pairing with John Dramani Mahama. The NPP is still to come up with a candidate, a running mate. We've been told somewhere in May that would be signed, sealed, and delivered. But for now, when you look at the political situation, what do you see, before we focus on the running mate saga, what do you see amongst both parties?
Well, I think that Bawumia will have no choice than to pick his running mate from the Ashanti region.
Oh, I see.
And if I have to bet, I will bet on Dr. Opoku-Prempeh.
Dr. Matthew Opoku-Prempeh?
Yes.
So you said two things. From where you said Dr. Bawumia, his hands are tied. He will have to get an Akan candidate from the Ashanti region. And the person you see, if you look into your crystal ball, would be Dr. Matthew Opoku-Prempeh. But the question is, why? And mind you, when we talk of Akan, the Akan grouping, I mean, there are some in the OT region, where I come from. Why not there?
You see, I think that about 4% vote on ethnic basis. Now, you pick someone from Ashanti, you are guaranteed more votes from Ashanti region. may pick somebody else from another Akan region. You may get votes from Ashanti. But if you are picking someone, if you want to maximize your votes from your stronghold, you will have to pick someone who will bring you maximum votes. So you can pick other Ashantis. You know, there are other MPs from Ashanti region, but you will have to select somebody who will give you maximum votes. And I think that from work that I think that Dr. Bauma's team is said to have done, Poku Prempeh will give Baumia maximum votes among the possible running mates from Ashanti.
And you think that is not something that Dr. Yaw Educhum can do?
Even if you take away Opoku Prempeh, I don't think, from what I have learned from the Bamia camp, from the work they had done, I don't think that Educhum would give maximum votes. I think that if you are ranking, Educhum will be about third or fourth.
So who would be your second option?
Mensa.
Osei Mensa Bonsu?
Yes.
Okay, so for you, one, it must be a candidate from the Ashanti region, a running mate from the Ashanti region. Two,
yes.
You see, when you look in your crystal ball and your interactions with members of the NPP, that it likely will be Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh. And yes. If not him, then, if not he, then it will be Osei Mensa Bonsu. And Dr. Educhum would be like a third option, if I get you clearly.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, just to wrap on that specific point before I go to Dr. Asa Asante. Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh has been, he's been seen to be arrogant, to not have done enough when it comes to the energy sector. And some people, even within the party, feel he is not the right person. How do you react to those before I move to Dr. Asa Asante?
Oh, I think that, there are people's perceptions, and if my information from the Bamia camp is right, I think that the research mainly focused on, I'll give you details of what I heard. The research mainly focused on about 6 leading MPs from Ashanti. And that was done even before Bawumia won the flag bearer slot. That if Bawumia was to pick a running mate from Ashanti, A, B, C, D, who should he pick? And I hear Opoku Prempeh won in all the constituencies of the other MPs. So if he's perceived to be arrogant or whatever, from the data they had, Opoku Prempeh would give them a maximum vote than all the others.
All right. Let me come to Dr. Asa Asante. You've heard the conversation. What do you make? The NDC has decided to go with Professor Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman, and I'll get to that shortly. I want us to focus on the NPP for now. What picture do you see? Have you also got some of the information that Ben Efson is sharing? Hello, Dr. Asa Asante. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you also hear me?
I can hear you now. Please go ahead.
Great. I think I have also, put my ears on the ground, working as a journalist and also as a scholar. What I get from the system is that, and then from where I sit as a political scientist, there's no doubt that the NPP should pick a running mate from Ashanti region. And why am I saying that? Their first bet is what Ashanti region. The second would be either Greater Accra or Central region. Any candidate from that will be okay. Why am I saying Ashanti region? if you just picking for picking's sake, that making sure that you bring everybody on board, it's not based on strategy. And of course, you can pick from anywhere in this country. But if it's on strategy and your aim is to ginger people to vote for the party, then obviously you can ginger more people in Ashanti region than any other place. So when you pick from Ashanti region, you get that type of effect. All right. So that is that. Apart from Ashanti, you can also pick from Central or Greater Accra region, being the swing regions, and they can also, ginger people to vote. Remember, these two regions, Central and Greater Accra, pull a lot of votes in terms of numbers. Look at Greater Accra, and then the swing nature of that these two regions will go a long way to help the party if they want to pick from there. But if you settle down on Ashanti region, I also agree with Senior Ben Efson that if you look at those whose names have come up, I believe that it is Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh who stands tall. Why am I saying that? There are three factors we are looking at here. Opoku Prempeh, all of them are Ashantis, all right? There's no doubt about that. In terms of experience, they all have, all right? But Opoku Prempeh being, his mother being an Achim, the Achim members of the NPP will want to have him as their candidate. And remember, these are great forces within the NPP, the Achim group, Ashanti group. So obviously, the Achim members within the party would prefer an Ashanti who's at the same time what? An Achim. So that Achim factor will help him out. Apart from that, the Menchia factor, they are all Ashantis, but the Menchia factor is strong, all right? Being the citadel of all the things we talk about in Ashanti region, the hub. He being a member of the royal family, and the significant role of Menchia in the life of the Ashanti, it's very, very important here. So if you look at these two, apart from the fact that they all are Ashantis, these two will put Opoku Prempeh ahead of the rest. I can tell you without fear of contradiction. So if you look at this will weigh heavily against others, and it will give Opoku Prempeh the chance to lead in the struggle for this running mate slot.
Right. Let me then ask you, looking at these two factors, his persona, some say he is simply not cut out for this because of the kind of person he is. He comes across as arrogant. He rubs off wrongly on some people, definitely not all people. Some have questioned whether he has the charisma to step in those shoes, because guess what? Now, a lot more, our democracy has got to the point where a lot more is required of a vice president, of a running mate for that matter. Does he have what it takes? And I may also add this bit. Ashantis, from reports, signals, if you followed that skit we played, those we've been playing when we interact with people in the Ashanti region, specifically Kumasi, but many other places, you would realize that a lot of the time they appear disgruntled on many fronts, from electricity to roads to the state of affairs of the economy. Even chiefs have lamented openly, never before seen. So the question also is, apart from the persona and whether he has the charisma, the question also is, will making Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh the running mate change anything in the Ashanti region anyway? Will it have an impact?
Oh, yes, it will have an impact. The factors I've explained to you are the things that will cause the change, right? Those who believe, and remember, Ashantis all rally behind the institution of chieftaincy, that's the Menchia, for everything. So when somebody is from that place, is a strong push factor that will push him into success. There's no doubt about that, right? Come to look at the fact that people are disgruntled and all that. When we're talking about internal party politics, sometimes people gloss over these things and they pick the one they think that is the right material at the right moment, right? What is it that people did not say about Nana Akufo-Addo? The same things were said about him. You recall that he was arrogant, he's this and that. One would have thought that based on that, he would not even get any vote. He won massively because they believe that he's the right man at the right time to win the election for them. We will manage all the weaknesses that are associated with him and move on. That is in politics. That is what you do. Yes, you can see a suitable candidate, but there are problems here and there. What do? You manage them. You manage them for them. All those things will be managed if the person has what it takes to win the vote for them. Remember, they need more votes from Ashanti region if they really want to keep their heads above water. So if they have anybody who has all the qualities and that there are problems, let's assume without admitting that that's the case, you will realize that they will play down that and then build on the strength of that person and then package him for that exercise. That is what you are going to see.
Would you be surprised if a candidate other than Matthew Opoku Prempeh were picked? And let me put it as well in this way. Ben Efson says he thinks Matthew Opoku Prempeh, number one choice. Number two choice, he says the number three choice is Dr. Osei Educhum. Number two is Osei Mensah Bonsu. Do you have an order, and do you also think that Matthew is number one in the rankings?
Oh, as for me, Matthew is number one. Even though I've not gone to the field, all that I'm doing based on what? Analysis and then, a whole lot of things put together.
But you say you've not gone to the field, so you don't have a sample size.
To pick
you don't have a sample.
That I can speak with my chest out saying that this person will go. But you look at all that I have studied, all put together, I can say from where I said that Matthew is number one. All right. The others, we can talk about what Osei Mensah Bonsu, very fantastic man. He has worked very well, and he's a true Democrat, if you look at him. And he has, learned the ropes of politics, not only from Parliament, but from his constituencies and all that. He's a giant, a very great one. You talk about Educhum has also excelled in his area of work. He has demonstrated that he has what it takes to lead anytime the call comes in and all that. But if you put, apart from Matthew that I'll put as number one, I'll put Mensah Bonsu. Because you see, in politics...
So you also agree, Mensah Bonsu is your number two option?
Oh, yes. Yes. If you look at Mensah Bonsu, he has everything. Has it not been these two factors I explained to you about Opoku Prempeh? Mensah Bonsu would have been my number one because he's so experienced in Parliament. And remember, the boiling pot of every political activity is Parliament. And he is a giant in there. And we're talking about policy. We're talking about even issues. We're talking about party organization and all that. And the man is rich in that experience. And I have no doubt in my mind that if you pick him as a running mate, look, you have a good material worth projecting to the national level. Yes, that is not to say that Educhum is not a good material. He has demonstrated beyond reasonable doubt that he has what it takes to hold that position. His experience, and then he also has ideas. He's a man of ideas, and his temperament is also, fit for purpose. And apart from all that, he also flows with the rank and file of his party and all that. The people love him, all right? So remember, in politics, you talk about popularity, and it's key. One thing that cut across these people, look at Opoku Prempeh, in certain positions, when they put you in certain ministries, they are in effect telling you that you are gradually becoming popular. And the two ministries, one of such ministries is what Ministry of what? Education. Because in every home, almost every home, education goes on. There are people in primary school, secondary school, university, so your name becomes a household name in there. So the popularity is there for all of them. In addition to that, what Dr. Opoku Prempeh brings to bear is the fact that he has moved to another ministry, which is so popular because of what? Our need for energy and the rest of them, energy ministry. So all these things go to add to all that I've said, to making this candidate a better candidate than the rest of them. But I tell you, if you pick any, I will not be surprised if they go ahead to pick somebody from, say, Central Region or East Greater Accra. That is another swing constituency that has been so supportive of the party in its agenda to either maintain power or to restore power. So you pick anybody there, you are likely to ginger people and all that. But in terms of what? Strategy and in terms of effect, I will believe that for strategic reasons, I will pick what? Opoku Prempeh.
All right.
Partner Bawumia.
Right. Right before we move from Kukrudu and go to Eyezu, just two quick questions for both of you gentlemen to address, and then we'll move to the NDC's end. Benefson, so some have said there's very little time, and to add to all of that, the NPP has still not come forth with a running mate. Time is ticking. The clock is ticking. The NDC has already discharged its duties. And again, you look at the fact that some would also suggest the NPP is marketing two new candidates, so to speak. Vice President, he himself has said he's a driver's mate, not a driver. He's now going to be marketed as someone who can actually be in the driver's seat. That is number one. Then you have a running mate who also is coming into that situation for the first time. But you look at the NDC. They have a former president, former candidate. Akufo-Addo will refer to him as the perennial candidate. He's there. And Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman was his running mate in the last election. She already has traction. How will that play in for the NPP or play out for the NPP?
Well, I think that, if you look at the results of elections, the NPP will need to maximize their votes in Ashanti region. There's no doubt. Yes, Greater Accra, Central or swing regions. But if NDC gets 32% in Ashanti, 42% in Eastern, they will win the elections. Ashanti is so crucial.
Please repeat that. You're saying that if NDC gets 32% in Ashanti and 42% in Eastern, they'll win the elections?
Yes, Ashanti especially. So, there is no doubt. Even before I learned of Team Bawumia's work and so on, I knew that Bawumia will have to pick his running mate from Ashanti, and not just any pick. I think that from the work they did, all these names that you mentioned, there were about 6 names who were picked, and my understanding is that the simple question they asked was, if Bawumia wins the slot, who should he pick as his running mate? And they asked all the names in all the constituencies of the 6. So it tells you, Bawumia's team they have quite a bit of experienced people who have run campaigns before and so on. So I'm not too surprised at the choice that the team said that they would make. You see, when you come to NDC, I'll tell you one of the major problems the NDC will be facing and has been facing and has not fixed it. So picking the Opoku Prempeh, I will not be too surprised at all.
Okay. For you, Dr. Asah-Asante, I want us to wrap on that point. Little time, still no running mate for the NPP. and the fact that they are going against a team which supposedly has been marketed already. Former president, former running mate, still in place for the NDC.
Very interesting battle. But you see, if we talk about popularity, let us not deceive ourselves into believing that the fact that the vice president is now being moved to lead the party is now going to be marketed. No, he's already marketed. People know him throughout. So he's a well-known figure. This is not the time to sell him. He's already known. 2, any of them that you pick as a running mate who are going to partner him, by what I have said, the places they've worked, they are popular. If you pick Opoku Prempeh, as I've said, in politics, the ministry that they put you will make or not make you. Education ministry is the very popular ministry. So if you work there as a minister, you are a household name. You are now going. It is not the case that you are now going to market him and then let the world know about him. No, education ministry has given him the popularity and the work he also did there. In addition to that, you are talking about the ministry as he has worked as energy is also popular. Yes, there is no doubt that he has not campaigned as on the national scale that is going to be introduced to. But if you look at that, you realize that, yes, it will not be difficult to sell the 2 candidates. They are already known in them. Come to look at the NDC. They have a cool tax because their candidates are already known, former president and then former minister. But it goes beyond popularity. For you to win election, other factors come in. 4 things must be brought to attention of everybody. 1, you need resources that will push your game to the end that you want. You need strategy that is workable, that will bring you the results you need. You need messages that will resonate with people and they'll follow you. And of course, you need manifesto that will look at all the problems that we have in this country. And that out of that, you'll be able to develop sector by sector messages, sector by sector strategy and all that. So you have to put them at national level, regional level, constituency level. Remember, constituency is where the votes emanate from. So you must have all your fingers on all these 4 everywhere, in addition to all that we have said. Then you are home and dry.
Let's focus on the NDC now. And of course, they already have their situation sorted out. It's the return of Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman. Apt, what does this do for the NDC? Retaining her. Then again, you look at the trajectory. We've had 3 of these vice presidential candidates or running mate situations. And in this sense, we have Vice President Akan. And then I guess things crumbled from the purported slap time, degenerating from there. And then he was shoved off. We had Atta Mills. We've had Pakwesi Emisa Arthur at a point, though he didn't become president. And now we have Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman. The central regional factor. Let's talk about that. I'll start with Ben Efson first. Doc, hold for me. Let me bring in Ben Efson on that before I come to Dr. Asante.
Well, I think that, Central Region, Greater Accra are the keen swing regions. Now, let me just say here that once you pick someone from the Central Region, you are not guaranteed majority of votes from Central. That is something that, if you look at since 1992, picking someone from Central Region does not guarantee majority of votes for your presidential slot.
Atta Mills learned that in 2000 and 2004.
Yes, but compare it, I've done that comparison, so I know what I'm talking about.
I'm actually corroborating what you're saying, that putting him forth in 2000, 2004, even 2008 was still a struggle. I'm actually corroborating what you're saying.
Yes, okay, thank you. And, the NDC had a strong difficulty in selecting the running mate. You don't maintain somebody who had been marketed who is known in Central, who is known in other regions, or do they pick somebody from their strongholds to try and show up their vote? We earlier on I had said that the Bamia team, the work they had done 2-3 years ago, obviously that means he had no choice but to pick an Ashanti. Now, in the Volta region, in the last 3 elections, NDC's votes have dropped between 4 to 5%. What do they need to do to bring their stronghold votes up? The NDC's strongholds politically have been Volta and the northern regions. Now, in the Volta region, your votes are dropping 4% over the last 3 elections. In the northern regions, the NPP, in the last 3 elections, their votes have appreciated 10%. So, yes, they can't pick another northerner. So they will have to pick somebody, and in the situation that they are faced, I think that Prof. Nana, with his experience and exposure, would be their best bet in terms of. So I think that.
So the NDC got it right.
Yeah, they got it right. From data available, they got it spot on. They got it spot on because their hands are virtually tied. I'm sure they didn't want to risk it because. The other names who had come up had been, for example, Julius Deborah, who is from Eastern region and who is well known in the party. Another name which came up, Tigba Fede. Even in Volta region, I don't think that politically Tigba Fede would have brought in the slump in the vote. So the NDC, given the circumstances that they have found themselves now, you got a spot on.
Dr. Asante, before I come through with my final bit, what's your take on that?
Yeah, if you look at the factors that we are considering, I believe that the NDC has also settled on a good candidate. A good candidate in the sense that you are talking about popularity. There is no doubt that from all that we have seen in terms of the work Professor Nana has done, he has really proved herself well from the academia to ministry, then to politics. And the fact that he also hails from one of the strong constituencies or region in the country. So it gives her that gravitas, that support for the party. You are talking about a game of politics and you are talking about popularity. So this counts a lot. I've told you already about that certain ministry, when they put you there, you are gradually becoming popular. And the fact that you work with the ministry, that is there. He also has been marketed before as a former running mate. And now you are bringing her on board again. He's going to be known the more. And that will also show up the support base for the NDC. If you look at some of these things that we consider for a position such as the running mate, you want to look at what constituencies that the person also is coming from, apart from his home constituency or natural constituency. All right, she appeals to what? The gender group. For the first Ghanaian woman to get to that position as a vice chancellor, having gone through all the ropes and getting there. It's a tall order, and that if you look around this country, you find only few people who can match up to that. You appeal toward the gender group. She will also appeal to well-meaning people who believe that.
Hello, Doc. All right, we seem to have lost the connection to Dr. Kwame Asante. I will try to get him back. But coming briefly to you, so look at the pairing, Mahama, Jane for the NDC. And let's assume, hypothetically, that it is Bawumia, Matthew Opoku Prempeh for the NPP. Which is a stronger pairing? Benefson?
Well, I think that Bawumia Opoku Prempeh is a stronger pairing, because definitely you are picking somebody who will maximize your votes, who will give you the 75% threshold you need to cross in your stronghold of Ashanti. That makes that pairing very formidable. Yes, Central is a swing region, but if you analyze the past results of 1992, picking someone from Central does not guarantee you maximum votes from the Central region. So based on that, that pairing looks a bit stronger.
All right. Dr. Asante, are you with me? All right. I would have wanted to really get Dr. Asante on that. But Benefson, so quickly, the last time we had an interaction, you spoke about your projections that you wouldn't want to make them from last year. You would want to make them this year, at least in the first quarter or a little after. Do you have any projections now? At least we know the NDC has a full set. The NPP, we have a fair idea. You've seen how things are going. The economy, education, roads, everything in between, health and all that. Can you make any projections now?
Oh, it's too early. I think if you ask me September, I'll be able to tell you. But let me tell you one thing. I think that strategically, the Mahama team made a mistake of coming out with the 24-hour economy last year. If they had brought it out, let's say, end of October, and people will still be discussing it, by the time we're voting on 7th December, they will still be discussing the 24-hour economy, such a key thing. Having brought it out over a year ago, that's now been exposed, is no more a game changer, and I think that they brought it too early, and that is really going to hurt them.
Did I hear you right, say that it was a mistake for the NDC to bring up the 24-hour economy from last year? They should have brought it this year. And did I also hear you say that it had now been exposed, its weaknesses had been exposed, and so now they'll have to find something else? Just to be sure that's what you said.
Yes.
Okay.
They had brought it end of October, with about 5 weeks to vote. People would have still been giving it the 24-hour economy advantage has fallen with time. It's been exposed over months, weeks and months. Strategically, if they had brought it 5 weeks to voting, they would have gotten a maximum vote from that as a massive...
Wouldn't that have been too late?
No. It did not be too late. It was, for the first few weeks, 3-4 weeks, it seemed to be a massive idea. With time, it has been watered down. At that time, 5 weeks to elections, you bring such a massive looking option policy. By the time people would have finished exposing it, tearing it apart, the swing voters would have given you the benefit.
But Benefson, look at it from practical angles. This is something that likely will go into your manifesto and all of that. They should bring it 5 weeks to elections. How will, first off, it would mean it wouldn't have been in your manifesto. It will come across as an afterthought. I don't get the reasoning on that. And mind you, Benefson, let me just say this: free SHS
before they vote.
Right, but
you don't put in your manifesto. You spend it from your back pocket.
I see.
You don't put it in your you don't put these things in your manifesto. How many people, professors, lecturers, how many people read manifestos before they vote? You don't put these things in your manifestos. You spend it from your back pocket.
But the point I'm making is you would want to talk about it, so it's something that would factor in there. And the other point, you make mention of the fact that they brought it out too early. Do you remember when President Akufo-Addo, back then when he was flag bearer, do you remember when he brought up free SHS? Practically right from the start. It wasn't too deep in the electoral year. He started talking about free SHS, and it worked for him.
Free SHS was something that was out of the ordinary. Look, you just ask. You have outlets. The 24-hour economy cannot stand on its own. If they had brought it 5 weeks to lectures, I'm finishing my 7th book, and I'm finishing some work on what people will look out to vote. And I must tell you, I've just completed the last bet 1-1, and 24-hour economy is not taken for the NDC. There are others which are taken for the NDC, but not the 24-hour economy at all.
All right. Thank you, Benefson, for joining the conversation. Dr. Sasanti, I see you back. You'll have the last word on that. The first question, which is a stronger pairing, Mahama Jane or Bawumia Opoku Prempeh, hypothetically? And the follow-up, you just heard Benefson on the 24-hour economy. Basically, he's saying Aponsuom. Do you agree with him? He says it came out too early. Now it's a bit, it's been torn apart. What do you think?
I'll start from the last one. I disagree that NDC brought it at the wrong time. It's the best time, and it's the best idea that will really be the game changer for the NDC. Why am I saying that? We have seen all the aspects of it which resonate with that, all right? And they are now going to put it into their manifesto.
Oh, this connection is really, because I really wanted to get his take on that. And it's interesting that they've taken different sides. And I want to hear what he has to say on that, in addition to his projection, which is a stronger pairing. I don't know whether maybe we can't reach him on phone or something just to end. Benefson, thank you so much for joining the conversation. We're grateful for your time, sir.
Thank you.
All right. I don't know. Maybe we should just try to get Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante on phone to wrap up this conversation, because I want those last bits to find out what his thinking is. And as the weeks go, the months go, and as we get to election 2020, of course, then we'd be able to find out what the real situation is. But we've lost Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante, so we'll have to still have the conversation there. A lot of you are sending in some messages with interesting thoughts, but we'll see how things pan out come election 2024. I hear Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante will be with us shortly, so before I sew up, we'll just get into that. But what do you think? Share with us on Facebook, on social media. Yes, Facebook, Joy News on Facebook. Let's know what you think. Look at this. Mahama Jane, Bawumia Opoku Prempeh. Which one do you think is the stronger pairing? Share with us as we go on with our show, and we'd be glad to read your comments. Let us know which pairing you think is stronger. For me, I've said it makes for interesting reflection. The NPP will have Dr. Bawumia Opoku Prempeh. Some say new faces, but are they technically new? Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante, you're back. You were making a point.
Yes, as I was saying, that I disagree with Ben that it came in at the wrong time. This is the best time. The best time that people, Ghanaians, will look at it, discuss it, and then pose questions to the party to respond. I also disagree that you should bring it about 6 weeks or 6 months to the election. No, then you yourself, you don't believe in the policy. I can tell you that this is a game changer for the NDC. If they are able to explain them well, which I know they will, because I'm not sure that they just threw it out there. They have studied it, and then gradually, strategically, they are releasing them gradually. If look at the conversation that it is generating, people believe that it's not workable. They are quiet once in a while, they throw in something. And that they sustain the momentum. And there is no doubt in my mind that if we are going for election, and that has been the case in Ghana, things that influence voter choice, number one is the economy. So the economy that we have it today, all right, will be the most important factor of discussion. Tied to what? The 24-hour economy. Not only that, infrastructure development will also occupy the attention of people. And the directive principle of state policy gives us what? The power or the opportunity to all of us to have a share of that in our areas. Not only that, issue of corruption will be brought to the fore and for a fuller discussion. And we will compare notes from what the various parties, and we see who has what it takes to address corruption, and it's not a talk shop. Not only that, but the issue of what unemployment will also feature strongly in this election. So if somebody thinks that these things are not going to work and then the 24-hour economy will not work for the NDC, I disagree vehemently. Let them wait. Let them NDC finish all their manifesto and throw it out. You will see that is a game changer for them.
So which is the stronger pairing, Mahama Jane or Opoku Prempeh and Bawumia?
The two camps have all the strong candidates.
Okay.
And I'm saying that it goes beyond the candidate that you have. Your strategy, your resources, your manifesto that will produce the messages, and the way you organize the election from what? National level, regional level, and constituency level. And these are all part of the process that will take you to what? The Flagstaff House or the Jubilee House in recent times.
Doc, thank you so much. Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante, thank you. We've had to go back and forth, but thank you so much for joining us again. He's a political scientist, also director of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. Ben Epson is a pollster. Now, Victor Dalmeida, you've been watching from Monrovia and Liberia, but a lot of you, I don't want to get into the comments because Patrick, Fifi Asare, Avotri, Makawawa, some of you, you were taking on Ben Epson. You completely disagree, but it's his opinion, it's his stance, and he's sticking to it. Come election 2024, we'll find out what really pans out. But also coming up, the Ministry of Education says its checks across senior high schools in Ghana have shown that there's an adequate stock of food. But heads of these schools say they are satisfied with what they have. There's been a lot of back and forth on the back of that latest Joy News documentary, which is yet to air, but we're getting responses as far as the state of free SHS is concerned. That conversation is up next on the AM show. You want to stay for that.
Sometimes they'll give you Gary, don't give you this. They'll give you this, they don't give you the Gary. So a school that is not having even 900 students is supposed to have 3 bags a day to feed 900 students.
And another concern is their food. To be frank, they are not eating any better food at all. So every time she will call, that mommy, I don't have money. The food is not enough, and sometimes it's not even good. To be frank with you, this girl left home without stomach pain. But now she will call that mommy, my tummy. She has been admitted at the hospital. They did other tests, but she said the doctors are suspecting is ulcer. It is very bad. We are not saying they should not eat Gary, but the Gary is too much. And according to the girls, the Gary is dried with some sauce on it. It is very, even home, how many of us could eat those food? They complain that the rice is very small. And the food the girls eat is very bad.
Very pathetic. And it's so sad that the outside world see a different picture, but the inside is a different issue altogether. I think the government should take a look into it. They are not fed properly. They are made to work like horses. I don't know. In fact, I think this is a second prison yard. Even the prison, those in the prison, I don't think they go through what is.
Welcome back on the show. That promo you were watching was a promo for a yet-to-be-aired documentary on the state of free SHS, especially as it concerns feeding. But in as much as although the documentary itself has not aired, the Ministry of Education have given us some responses. They're saying that the schools have enough food to feed their students. Joining me in the studio this morning for a conversation on this topic is Mr. Kwesi Kwateng, PRO for the Ministry of Education. Good morning. It's good to have you in the
sweetie.
studio. Yeah.
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm okay. And you?
I'm doing so well.
Fantastic. So you saw the promo that just aired before we started the conversation.
Yeah.
Why the swift response? I've been curious about that. The documentary itself has not aired, but there's been a lot of responses and reactions to that. Why do you think that is?
But why should we wait for the issue to deteriorate before we act? At every point, you have to be proactive
Right.
And take your response as positive feedbacks to improve our system. And based on that, we had to respond to the concerns that has been raised. It was even the more reason why we made visitations, of course, under the instruction of the Minister, Dr. Oseduchum, to various schools nationwide to assess the situation for ourselves, ascertain and verify, and of course, provide interventions, I mean, if any, particularly when it is found that genuinely those problems do exist. And so at every point, we believe that the media is our friends. We take positive feedback from the media. The media helps us improve our work. I mean, this is not the first time we are having a very good relationship with Joy. And so when you bring such a documentary out, we cannot sleep, but just to prioritize the life of our students at every point. And against this backdrop, we have to go to the school. But of course, I mean, we have a social contract with the public. So at every point in time when we embark on any initiative, we have to, I mean, give the feedback to the people through accountability and transparency.
Right.
And of course, it was also a way of reassuring the parents that we are very committed, resolved to addressing whatever challenges that persist remains high. And of course, I mean, to also let them know that the situation is not maybe how the outlook has been manifested, but
right.
I mean, they should be calm, and we are ready to make sure that.
So you mentioned that you didn't want the situation to deteriorate.
Yes.
That's why you're responding now. Did you have to wait for us to go out there and do our, public interest journalism before you send out teams to assess the situation on ground? Because you're in charge of this, free SHS, feeding our 1.8 million students across the country. Did you have to wait on us to, show a promo before you go out and do an assessment of the situation on ground?
Yeah, I think it's also only fair that you also add that I mentioned that we said we didn't want the situation to deteriorate,
right.
Particularly when we go out there and make our findings and realize that those findings or whatever has been put out there is genuine. So it was predicated on a certain condition. I mean, the fact that a concern has been raised as a responsible leadership, the first thing that you have to do is to prioritize the interests and the lives, of course, the well-being of your students, and make sure that even if it is found to be true, I mean, you provide that intervention. So our first priority was to provide that intervention. That is if it's found to be true. But I mean, to the contrast and to the contrary, when and the findings and the outcome that we found was quite different. But
really,
I mean,
what did you find?
It's not even. It was quite different, as in. We are interested in the fact that our findings reveal some facts that are in opposition to yours. No. Our interest is that when we went there, we realized that the condition was actually stable, because in terms of stock, schools that we visited, and again, it will interest you to know that beyond even our nationwide visitation, we also activated our reports and complaints mechanism, so that we're able to get feedback across all 1,200 schools. Of course, I mean, even with regards to such a complaint and reporting mechanism, you may have its own challenges. But generally, if you look at all schools, I mean, the feedback, particularly from our visitations and monitoring and the reports that we have from other schools, shows that there is enough and adequate supply of food. And so, for that matter, parents should not be so worried. We are in charge.
Which school did you go to? Because some of the pictures I saw, I know some of our reporters here in-house were part of the team that went to assess the situation on ground. I think even at Laboni Senior High School, Kenneth JC was there.
Yeah, Kenneth was there.
No, it was, yeah.
Yeah, it was Kenneth.
I saw a picture of an empty plate. The title of this yet-to-be-aired documentary is called Empty Plates.
You saw a
picture of a picture of an empty plate. It was green.
Yes, so
and you're saying that, okay.
It depends on the interpretation that you place on it. If we see an empty plate, ask yourself whether it was before 7 or after 7.
But I'm making a point. I said all that to say that perhaps if you had waited to see the content of the documentary, it would not be something entirely different from what you're anticipating. Perhaps it's just actually representing the situation on ground. Some of the students who spoke on a news bulletin said that it's not that they don't have food, it's the inadequacy of food and the unbalanced meals that they're serving. You saw that thing, the video that was showing.
I mean, people have contested
water with brown some substances
I mean,
on it.
It looks like shito. I mean, granted, without admitting that it is shito.
Yeah.
Schools don't even serve shito in the first place. It's not part
Schools
of their
don't serve shito.
No, it's not part of their menu. And
right. So let's get into
look
what...
at the bowls. I mean, come to think of it, why were those videos not captured in the dining hall? But me,
some of them were in the dining hall.
No, but I mean the food with worse conditions, particularly this one, on the face value, clearly. I mean, nobody will endorse, no matron, and our hardworking headmasters will not endorse the preparation of such foods. But I mean, bottom line is that we see the media as our collaborators.
Okay.
We see the media as people that we work with. And so at every point when you bring feedback, and we also impress upon you to get us, particularly for instance, list of schools affected, it is not in a way to suggest that the work of the media, maybe we are throwing aspersions or questioning the credibility of your work. No, we are only saying that whatever you have within your sleeves, get us the list of those. Because I mean, I'll be a liar to sit here and make it look like I know what is happening across all 1,200 schools. We are not running an entirely mechanized system where, for instance, it's like robots who have to supply food to point A, point B, and the feedback. No, we are not running an entirely mechanized system. At every point, there is also a little bit of human interface in it. And as soon as you admit that there is a human interface in it, I mean, you may have one or two challenges. Right. But our major responsibility is that when those challenges come, we quickly intervene. It was even the more reason why we wanted and insisted that we would have been happy that Joy gives us the list. I mean, now we are getting to know that the main point is not even about shortage of food. It's right now on nutrition and adequacy and quantity.
You can only speculate. We don't know.
No, you just mentioned.
I'm saying that if you have waited to watch the documentary, perhaps the content.
Oh, so you are not very sure.
Otherwise,
then I won't lie.
I'm not saying I'm not very sure, but let's get into the provisions of this free SH policy, especially on feeding. Last year, we saw former finance minister say that about 8.4 million Ghana cedis have been spent on the free SHS policy. How much out of that, the actual expended figure, goes into feeding? And then we can break down the meals
I mean, to be fair, I will have to get you a proper briefing when it comes to funding.
Right.
I don't have such facts off head.
No problem.
I will need.
But do you know what meals the school authorities are supposed to be serving these children?
So, I mean, let's take it even from the supply or the distribution chain mechanism. Understand that at every point there are two main agencies responsible for the supply of food to schools. We have the National Buffer Stock, an agency under the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, Dr. Bright Champo's ministry, and of course GCS, which are responsible for supply of about 70% of food items to these schools. The remaining 30% are perishables. If I refer to the 70% earlier, those are non-perishables. Grains, rice, cereals, what have you, beans and co. But when you talk about the remaining 30%, those are the perishable food items. So in even those ones, it is not the Ministry of Education or any of our agencies that supplies. We send the monies directly to the schools. And then the schools themselves procure or purchase those items.
Have you consistently been delivering
As of now, I am confident, and I have a good news for you. The good news is that we have made an up-to-date payment of the perishable food items instead of payment.
When was that? When was this?
No, we don't owe even up to date.
All right.
So the point is that when these food items goes to the schools, of course, coupled with the perishable food items, the schools will have their own menu. You see, out of these 18 food items, it is possible, and that's where we make the little admissions. For instance, when I went to Greater Accra, I was in charge of Greater Accra. When I went to Presec, Presec happens to be the hub or the distribution center for the region. The gentleman in charge said every school in Presec has a minimum of at least 15 food items. You see, there are some food items which may be quite seasonal. Because of as a result of the lean season, at that particular time, you may not get the food items. For instance, peanuts. In Greater Accra, you may not get peanuts in all the schools. So what usually happens is that such a school at some point may have to improvise on their own menu. So if traditionally students were eating peanuts, within that season, they may not necessarily get the peanuts. They are even in charge in terms of the arrangement by the schools themselves. There are even occasions where in terms of the stock, if the stock goes down, the schools themselves have their own internal arrangement where they barter. So a school, for instance, may not have sugar. Say school A. They can take sugar from school B so that when school A receives their supplies, they also balance them. So that barter arrangement even exists. So, I mean, these are some proactive and novel way that headmasters and matrons and school leadership are using to help all of us and sustain this very good program that we have. So when the impression is made to look like all is not well, yes, we admit there are challenges, and we are always ready and assure parents that we are always ready to resolve those challenges.
I like that. Okay.
When it's made, the projection is made to look like headmasters don't care, head teachers are doing nothing, matrons don't care. I mean, they are just watching students just being stabbed. I mean, it becomes quite unfair for me.
I like that you said there are challenges.
Obviously, it's a human institution.
Exactly. So there have been concerns that perhaps if you need to cut down costs to ensure that the students are getting balanced meals, you can remove boarding from this free SHS policy so that we have day schools to ensure that the money is distributed to the right places. What do you think about that?
That's a policy decision. And I would say it's beyond my pay scale.
Okay.
I mean, policy decisions usually comes from cabinet.
Right. So now we've seen videos, reports about some schools in the northern region who grow their own food. School gardens, school farms, they even have livestock. The man said they'd caught about 70 or 1,000 catfish, Have the government, the ministry, thought perhaps it's time for us to implement or encourage this among schools, for them to grow their own food? Perhaps that will also help to cut down costs so that our children can eat balanced meals.
I don't
Give
think
me a sense of your...
I don't think it's a subject that has to only be narrowed even to schools. Was it the Champions time where the axiom was eat what you grow?
Right.
Mr. Sankara too championed it in Burkina Faso during his era. So if you ask me, even though at the level of the ministry, I have not had a briefing specifically on that item, I do not want to narrow it down to the level of secondary schools per se, but even every homes. I mean, something that, if you look at it, is in the direction of what is right. Why not? It's something that we can all discuss, embrace, and make sure that we makes it work. But I don't think it's a subject which has to be narrowed to secondary schools per se. But maybe you should own a farm. I own one. And
right, but let's put a pin in that. Nathaniel Adam is on Zoom with us. He's from the school where they grow their own foods. Good morning, Nathaniel. It's a pleasure to have you with us.
Good morning, and thanks for inviting me.
So we're just discussing the issue of feeding in the senior high schools, and what we've seen you do in your schools is to grow your own food. Can you shed a little light on that? When that started, and the progress you've made so far?
Okay, so thank you, and then good morning to your viewers and listeners. The school itself is 10 years, and when we set out to actually raise science students, basic school, develop the interest of children in the sciences, so that we'll have people from that area do the health and the science and all. And so, but to have that kind of education, you need a high standard, fees must be paid and everything. So right from the word go, we were kind of farming and supporting the work. But 6 years ago, we developed the concept of school farm system. And that has been so great for us. When we developed the school farm system 6 years ago, our children, the concept is basically a system where the children are directed and supported to produce what they eat, develop interest in it, and not affect their academic work.
Right.
That is the concept. So 6 years ago, we started in a scale that is, well, because then we have developed a concept for it, and it has been very successful. Very successful. They have their ponds, they have vegetables, they do guinea fowls, they do turkeys, and we have it. So for the last 6 years, our cereals are basically that which is grown by the students themselves, and they love it. You see, they love it and they participate fully in it. It's designed.
What are the cost implications in running this school feeding, this system of feeding your own students with your own produce?
Well, economic cost implication, it reduces drastically. So once your cereals are taken out, once they get protein because they have guinea fowls, we have layers and they lay, so a child gets an egg a day to eat. You are about 70% off the cost of feeding. You understand? You're about 70% off the cost of feeding the children in the school. The few things you need, oil, tin, tomatoes, and other things that you have to buy. But main meal, they do their best. And this is just 150 students maximum for the last 6 years. And they are doing this great work at the basic level. That's another thing. At the basic level. And their performance, academic, is great.
Right.
It's good as well. Yeah.
So for your school, for example, do you benefit from some of the free SHS or free school feeding policy? Do you benefit from some of the things that are distributed?
Yeah. So this is a basic school. It's a junior high school.
Oh, right. Okay.
So this is a basic school, and it's a non-profit, so a basic non-profit institution. Yeah. So we don't fall under the SHS system, so we don't benefit from that here.
I mean, what you're doing is admirable, but do you think that we can effectively implement this in senior high schools across the country, or why do you think the government should emulate what you're doing?
We have done this for 6 years. Initially it was just a small thing, like the PRO in the studio is saying everybody should be involved, not just school. Initially it was small, but once we got into it and developed the concept, which doesn't interfere in the academics. Look, patriotism of the children, teamwork is developed. It's even enhancing the academic performance. And for me, the great part of it is their taste for Ghanaian food. Right from that level is developed. So they eat local rice, they eat their local, they eat what they grow. And so from this level, their taste for Ghanaian meal, and so it even goes into the economy, reducing import and all of that. And so I think it's a laudable thing. Once we discuss the concept and it works out well, it's just about management. And once it is managed well, we have been able to do it. And so if we have been able to do it for these years, for these children, why can't it be done? You understand? Agric is our backbone. Agric is everything. And so right from the basic level, I think that we should encourage the children, get children involved in what all we have is our soil. And once we develop it, it helps. And it's helping them even become better academically.
Okay. Thank you, Nathaniel. Now, we are reviewing the feeding under the free SHS policy. It's time, we've opened the phone line so that you can join in the conversation, because this is about all of us. What are your thoughts? What do you think, especially about the school farming or school garden system where students can grow their own produce and feed themselves? But let me come back to you in the studio, Kwesi Kwarteng.
Yeah.
If we're supposed to implement this, I mean, should the ministry or government decide to adopt something like this? I know that is an issue of land and some resources to start. Give me a sense of what you think about this.
I mean, particularly with my visitations to most senior high schools, and of course, I mean, using my own school, Konongo Mase, example, I believe that I don't think it should become much of an issue, because a lot of the schools have a lot of spaces. I mean, I have my own reservations even about in terms of the school's planning architecture, in terms of the usage of land. But that's not official position, so I cannot put it out. Because I feel that maybe as time goes forward, we should even maximize the use of the land and probably be looking at high-rise buildings and other things. I'm sure it's the more reason why, if we, at the basic school level, Dr. Oseduchum has also started an intervention where now we are building the...
You have to tell me about this intervention in a bit. We have a caller on the line. Abdul, good morning. Thanks for joining the conversation.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning. Talk to me.
Yeah, this is Abdul Ganiu Mankarwo calling you from Savannah region. I will say good morning to you and good morning to your viewers out there, and good morning to my senior brother, the PRO of Education Directorate. Education Ministry. You see, all these things, in terms of the free senior high school, there is nothing that you'll be in without having problems. The only thing you do is that President Akufo-Addo has done free senior high school for each and every citizen for this country. And all of us, we are benefiting on it. We shouldn't be expecting that there won't be challenges. Definitely there will be challenges. The only thing we can do is, how are we coming together to help the government to solve those problems? But as of now, my sister, people, those who are coming from the north, now 5 northern regions, anytime there was a school fee, it was preventing a lot of people not to go to senior high school. But as of now, each and every young guy or young girl from each and every house in the 5 northern regions, we are benefiting the free senior high school. We have people, our daughters, our sons are benefiting from it. So the only thing we can also do is that let's see how we will support the government to help to solve those problems. That is the only thing that we can do now. But the president has given us an opportunity to go to the senior high school. That is a big opportunity that the president has been giving us. So we too can come on board to help to execute the president's agenda. That is the only thing we can do.
Right.
But this free senior high school has come to stay. And I know if whoever wants to dissolve free senior high school will get problem in this country. So let's give the man applause and support him and give him encourage him to do more so that we can also benefit the education in the 5 northern region here. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much for contributing to the conversation. Mr. Wetukwase, I have to let you go, but
just a quick one. Talk about the northern region. You see, we didn't steal the FACES program. Today, we are now talking about enrollment to senior high schools, now jumping to 94% in Northeast. In Savannah, it's 94%. In Upper East, it's 92%. In Northern Region, it's 90%. In Upper West, which is the lowest, is 89%.
Right.
Unprecedented.
Okay.
Superb. So yes, we may have 1 or 2 challenges, but the overall performance as a people, we should be proud of ourselves.
Exactly. Nobody is saying the policy in itself is bad. It's just there are some challenges, implementational challenges that need to be fixed. But thank you for joining us. We're just reviewing the feeding under the free SHS policy with the PRO for the Ministry of Education. Mr. Kwesi Kwarteng was my guest. Thank you so much for passing through. Right. But there's more on this show coming up. Please stay with us.